is the Stargirl After Show with Sarah and Shawn. Your post-show breakdown of DC Stargirl with Easter eggs, exclusive behind-the-scenes info, and cast and crew interviews.
This is our destiny. I finally know who I really am. I'm Stargirl.
This is the Stargirl After Show.
Hey Star fam, welcome back to another episode of Stargirl After Show, sponsored as always by Stargirl.tv and DCTV.news, your best resources for news, media, and spoilers about Stargirl and other DC Comics properties. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Sarah.
And this week we're talking 305, The Thief. Dun dun. Written by Steve Harper and directed by Leah Thompson.
I am so glad that this one jumped back, just like 302 did. We go back and see the murder, not the actual murder, but that point in time, you know, from another perspective. And right off the bat, we have Cindy here, and we get an answer to something I was wondering about, how she got the laptop.
Also, it's giving us a good timeline because it very clearly states that it's 5 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on episode 5 days in. That tracks.
I wonder if it's going to be the whole season as just an episode a day. That would be kind of a neat way to do it.
So, yeah, she hides the laptop so that she can come back and get it later. And also we get an answer for the gunfire. She's looking at the gun and she has that pain in her arm from transforming into a lizard person.
Yeah.
Which like makes her convulse and shoot. So I love going back and seeing new perspectives of things like that in mysteries in general.
Yeah. And seeing this, it's like everything is so easily explained for her, but she's not going to share any of that with the rest of the JSA because she's hoping that she never has to tell anyone that this is what's going on.
And she's not like exactly the most trustworthy person.
Right.
Or trusting person, I should say. She's not trustworthy or trusting.
Yeah, either way. All right. And then we got Camney walking back to Courtney's house. I love how she's like, well, I'll do some research tonight. And Cameron's like, how? What are you going to do? And she's like, Wikipedia.
And then he's like, I'm going to research your mouth.
Yes. Yeah, that did happen. I liked it. It was kind of a callback because when they were researching the superheroes to begin with, they used Wikipedia to find out about Wildcat.
That's a good point.
And then Courtney, after a goodnight kiss, goes inside and is just so happy and smiling.
And dodgy. She's so dodgy.
Very dodgy. And Pat's just trying to figure out what's going on. Why are you smiling? What happened? Why are you so happy? Did anything specific happen? I'm like, man, Pat, ease up a little bit.
And I'm just going to jump ahead. I love that over the course of the episode, Pat's getting really suspicious of her. And I would argue rightfully so.
Oh, yeah.
But then later, Barbara just straight up calls it out. Like, it's obvious she has a crush on somebody.
Yeah.
And she's 100% correct. But also, he's 100% correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both are.
But I really love the way that plays out over the course of the episode. It's really fun and I mean, such a real like mom and dad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the here and now, before jumping ahead, Courtney goes downstairs and grabs Icicle's file and hides it in her shirt because she doesn't want to answer these questions.
Yeah, and I had an issue with this because she tries to dodge Pat and like, oh, I'm going to go do some homework and then sneaks downstairs, but leaves the door to the basement wide open. And I'm like, Courtney, have you not learned to close doors and to lock doors when you have all these people living nearby?
I have the opposite problem later in the episode. We'll discuss it. I'm more torn up about the fact that after all of the ups and downs we had with being open and honest in season 2, here she is keeping secrets, sneaking around, sort of a step backwards for her and Pat's relationship.
I agree. I did not think about that while watching it, but I think she's so caught up in the moment of, oh my God, he actually likes me. Oh my God, we could be dating, that she doesn't want to do anything that could potentially ruin that.
Well, there's also the fact that he has icicle powers.
Right. Well, that's what I mean, that she's not going to tell Pat that he has that because probably Pat would tell her to stay away.
I think everyone would.
Yeah.
I mean, again, jumping ahead a bit, even Cindy seems pretty much on team, that's not a great idea.
But I think that Barbara and Paula, they're probably on board.
I guess we'll see. Speaking of Cindy.
Yeah, we go back down into the tunnels and she still cannot get into the gambler's computer and decides why not have the gambler hack himself.
That's so brilliant. Also, I love the fact that the gambler has a device that just plugs in and brute forces a password instead of like TV hacking where he's like sitting and typing things. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You literally just use a device or run a program, and that's how hacking works. If you made a real movie or TV show about someone hacking, it would be the most boring thing.
Huh. I always bought it with the movies that hacking takes all that because I was like, man, I get locked out of my accounts when I forget it. Like, you get like 3 chances to do your password and I've been locked out. I mean, how does this keep working?
In the 90s, sure, that made sense. Typing and typing and typing because people were doing like, still DOS and command line stuff. But now everything's automated. It's all programs. There was even, I think it was CSI. They had an episode, famously the worst hacking scene of all time. The 2 computer geniuses on the show come together and they're fighting off a hacker and they're both typing on the same keyboard at the same time.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to do that.
Because you know how well that would work. You should find it on YouTube. Just type in worst hacking scene of all time. Honestly, it's exquisite how terrible it is.
That's funny. Hopefully they did that on purpose.
I don't give them that much credit.
All right, but Cindy does get in and she learns that her dad had lab locations all over.
Or she knew that, and that's specifically what she was looking for.
Yeah, it revealed where they are.
Either way, she finds out the location of a bunch of Edo labs.
But then the camera for Tunnel 3 starts going off, and Starman, Wildcat, and Hourman are making their way towards her. And so she takes off in a panic.
Okay, let's get on the same page about something here. Cindy Berman doesn't panic. She hustled out.
I don't know. She looked pretty nervous there about getting caught.
I don't think she panics. I think that she keeps her cool in all situations at all times. But, maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
I think she was hurried.
She did hurry.
Because of the proximity.
Okay. All right. And it's a good thing she got out of there because Sylvester comes in and loses his mind.
Yeah, even Rick is like,
That's when you know it's bad.
Again, later, when Rick's like, he's got a temper, and Court's like, oh, and you don't? Court, listen to the dude with the bad temper saying that somebody has a bad temper. It's not the pot and the kettle. It's like Rick's the kettle.
And Sylvester recognizes that he did go a little overboard because when he's back at home that night, he couldn't sleep and is polishing the silverware and talks with Barbara. And they have a very sweet heart-to-heart where he's like, I never thought that I would be, a parent figure. And she talks about never thinking that she was going to have a son, until she met Pat and Mike.
And I seriously teared up when he's like, and how's it going with Mike? She's like, he's my son.
Yep.
Like, oh my God. I'm starting to mist up right now thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we need Amy Smart on this show.
Yeah, that was a beautiful delivery. And I love when he's talking about how he, had a freak out moment down there. And Barbara says, if you have a bad moment, then you help them learn from it. I was like, that is very good advice and seems to be what he will be best at because he is making a lot of mistakes.
Is it weird that I'm sad that the ISA painting got damaged?
I mean, it's not weird that you're sad about it.
I mean, it's just it's so big.
Yeah.
It's like the whole wall. I think it's 12 feet wide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's massive. But having that all blasted up like that, it was so cool. It's not right. It's like when Stripe got all busted up. I didn't want to see that either.
No.
But at least that's a machine you can put back together. No one's going to hire a painter to come in and repair the ISA painting.
I don't know. I bet Cameron could do it.
But why though?
Well, in case he, turns evil.
I will use my evil gifts to repair this painting. My, what a tragedy.
Yeah, it'd be a great way to honor his dad. All right. This next scene has one of my favorite lines, I think, of the whole show. Mike is in the pantry and he's looking for the super sugar checks. And Sylvester says, "Oh, I put everything in alphabetical order." And Mike just goes, "That's not an answer."
Mike's not great with the alphabet.
I just found that very funny. But then those two have a little bit of a heart to heart. Sylvester's like, "You don't really like me very much. You know, we're very different people." And Mike's like, "Yeah, like you're a JSA people and I'm not JSA people."
Yeah, he immediately took offense at that. Like, okay, small human. The 6'4" superhero said, you know, we're pretty different. He's not putting you down.
No, like, not at all.
Obviously, you're very different. You're a freshman in high school, and he's from the JSA, but not like I'm in the JSA and you're not.
Yeah.
It was a weird moment for Mike to get upset about, but in the end of the conversation, it turns out like maybe we're not so different after all.
Yeah, I love Sylvester talking about his days as a Star-Spangled Kid and not being taken seriously and how he had to prove himself.
Yeah, at Mike's age, basically.
Yeah. And I like how he was talking about, you know, the JSA, we were not always the best of buds. But Sylvester, you know, really gives Mike a boost because he's like, yeah, facing Eclipso, that is real superhero stuff. You got to make other people see it.
And then he offers to allow Courtney to come with him the next time he goes to look into some stuff. And she's just not interested.
No.
She's very preoccupied with Cameron.
And that is completely not like Courtney at all. She has never been this way. So Pat has every right to be concerned and think that there is some kind of issue.
And this does carry throughout the episode as well. And kind of everyone notices it.
Yeah, except for Courtney.
But we'll discuss it more as it happens.
And then another great line at the end of this where Courtney leaves, "Enjoy your waffles." Pat's like, "We're having omelets." And Sylvester just goes, "Does she not know the difference?" I just thought that was kind of funny.
I love the idea that he thinks that she might not know the difference.
Yeah, because I think he was serious.
This next scene, I think, is my favorite one in the whole episode.
This was great.
You've got a couple things going on that are really great. Mike, obviously taking Sylvester's words in the way that he wants to mean that, like, oh yeah, we're obviously supposed to go and catch this killer.
You know, I'd argue that that is what Starman was saying to do.
I mean, yeah, he was calling it back to himself as the Star-Spangled Kid, saying how he made things happen. I would honestly love to see Mike put on that Star-Spangled Kid uniform and go out and try to fight crime in that way.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. Hold on, let me send a text to Jeff for season 4. Fingers crossed, season 4. Then we have the wish that goes wrong. The bullies come up. They wish the bullies would be nicer to them, and the bullies are just very polite about taking their money and beating them up.
Yeah. And this was Brian and Travis. We haven't seen them since first season, right?
I guess not, because last season was summer school. So I think a lot of the Blue Valley High gang weren't there.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool just to see them again.
Yeah. And then obviously they're rescued by Cindy in a vicious takedown. It's always good to see Cindy beat up some douchebags. And then, of course, her slow motion boys in love scene.
Yeah, the pink glow. You've watched Buffy, right?
Of course, like 40 times.
It reminded me of my favorite episode of Buffy, which is him from season 7, where this guy RJ has a Letterman jacket, and every time he puts it on, all the girls fall in love with him. It just reminded me of the scene of Every Time with A Summer Place playing and all the girls swooning after. So, except for this was Mike and Jakeem.
Fun fact, it was actually a reference to Wayne's World.
Okay.
The Heather Locklear scene where she comes in slow motion and Dreamweaver plays. The music that plays over Cindy was scripted as Dreamweaver, which made me laugh out loud when I read the script. And I guess they couldn't get the rights to it or something. I don't know. I was sad to watch the episode and not hear Dreamweaver. But, I mean, that's an entrance not a lot of actresses get to have. And actually it was her exit, not her entrance, but still, so good.
It was. All right, then we got Sylvester flying as Starman out into the woods. And he lands and he uses the staff to blast away the dirt, and he finds an opening to an entrance for a secret area.
Yeah, I love using the cosmic staff as a common leaf blower. Why not?
Mm-hmm. He just calls Beth to get the passcode so he can get in. And she's, of course, in the middle of a test. And there is no way she wouldn't have been caught talking in class, but I'll suspend disbelief.
Yes, suspend your disbelief. But
I love Sylvester's like, please help. I'll be your best friend. Like just trying to play nice and do it. He sends his location via MapQuest.
I love that was such a good touch. I'm using MapQuest. I hope it still works.
Mm-hmm.
The funniest part of that is the idea that MapQuest ever worked.
That's true.
I mean, look, that was real life, guys. A lot of you listening to this may not understand the idea of using MapQuest or even what MapQuest is. But before we all had GPS in our pockets at all times, when you wanted to go somewhere, you would look up the directions on a website called MapQuest, and you would print them out and carry them in the car with you.
And if they were wrong, or if there was some kind of block in the road, you were screwed.
Yeah, you just had to work it out, man, because we didn't have the internet with us at all times. That wasn't even that long ago. Like, I'm talking, I went to LA in 2005 and I was getting around with MapQuest.
Yeah.
Printed out on a piece of paper. Bananas. So this has been your old person uses tech history lesson for the day. The best part of this scene, though, obviously, Beth's complete and utter desolation at being shown the answers to the math test by the goggles.
Yeah, and when she tells Sylvester, he's like, that's great. Congratulations. Such opposites there.
I mean, look, it makes me wish that I had those goggles right now. And I would go back to school right now and just, it could be so easy.
I would absolutely do that.
Test into a bachelor's in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I love that in the Dragon King lab, Sylvester finds like a weird lizard. Did it have fur? It looked like it had fur.
It definitely didn't look just like an average lizard, but I couldn't tell like if it just had extra spikes and stuff on it. Maybe it did have fur though.
Something weird about it. But mainly the thing that Sylvester really discovered down there was the handsome dude in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I liked when he was talking to the lizard and he was like, you remind me of my mother, but you're much cuter. I was like, well, we heard from Pat previously that Sylvester didn't get along with his parents very well, but it was a nice little moment to hear that from him too.
Sylvester also mentioned it. He said something about my parents were never going to win any Parent of the Year awards or something like that.
Yeah.
In a different episode.
All right. And then we go over to Richie's for a lunch date. Barb and Pat are there. Maria brings their food and tells Pat to say hi to Zeke for her. So I guess romance is in the air everywhere here in Blue Valley.
I'm here for that. I'm on board.
And then we get to what we talked about earlier, where Pat's just so worried about Courtney and Barb's just like, yeah, well, she has a crush. This is what we wanted. We wanted her to be a normal teen.
Pat really is kind of struggling with that.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, wait, who, what, how?
Yeah, because he hasn't had to worry about that with Mike at all. Mike hasn't been going around trying to date people. Yeah, I think he's going into overprotective father mode, which is funny because she risked her life and he allows her to do that.
Being only a year behind Courtney, it's kind of weird that he hasn't gotten interested in dating or anything yet.
Well, he's got bigger priorities, like becoming a JSA member.
Yeah, he's got goals.
Yeah.
He can't let romance get in the way of his real life goals.
Exactly. And then Pat and Barb's BFFs, Crusher and Paula, slide in.
Every scene is made better by adding Crusher and Paula.
It really is.
And I'm going to go so far as say literally any scene in any movie. You drop them into Kramer versus Kramer somewhere, that's going to get better.
Yeah.
Citizen Kane, The Godfather, I don't care what it is. You drop in Crusher and Paula, boom. Instantly
oh man,
better.
imagine if they were in Rat Race with Amy Smart. They would have killed that competition, probably literally.
Ooh, what about Crank? also Amy Smart, but action oriented. They could fight Jason Statham.
They would be great at that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, hear me out. Fast 11, but it's just Crusher and Paula. They're the whole family.
Well, and some cars. We got to get the cars in there.
Well, yeah, but they don't need cars. They do it on foot.
Yeah, but they got to have the little sticker of the Archer and the family and all that.
You're right. Got to have that. Yeah.
I love that their interrogation was, they look so proud. Like, oh, we dangled them off a tall building to get answers. And Paula's like smiling and then sees Spark's face and she's like, oh, no, just kidding.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We definitely didn't do that.
But they did find out, useful information. The gambler paid back every single person that he was blackmailing. Pat tells him, I don't condone your tactics, but thank you. Like, that was good work. And now you're done. So knock it off. But they're not going to, because apparently being heroes has supercharged them in the bedroom. And I don't know if I've ever seen Pat look more uncomfortable.
Yeah, he asked for that check real quick.
Mm-hmm. We go over to chem class, and we got a flashback to first season where Courtney and Cindy are partners.
That was a very nice callback, having them lab partners again, because that was where they bonded the first time, where you could see that they actually could be friends, was Cindy sort of hinting at her strange childhood with Courtney.
Yeah, and it wasn't that when they made plans to do something together instead of the dance, and then Cameron asked Courtney to go to the dance.
Yeah.
And so she was going to ditch Cindy to go with him.
So that's stuff from 2 seasons ago that is paying off now. Both those things, the Cameron relationship, the Cindy relationship, they're both sort of coming to fruition from 2 seasons ago now. And I think it's that kind of slow build-in and organic growth of relationships of all sorts that really works for this show and makes it feel a lot more natural than basically anything else on the CW. Not just superhero shows, literally anything.
Except Nancy Drew and Tom Swift.
Okay, I haven't seen those, but I'm talking like even back to WB days, like
Yeah.
Dawson's Creek or whatever. This scene with Cindy and Courtney, the only line that I felt important enough to like actually write down is when Cindy says, she's telling Courtney that you can't tell Cam about his dad. And, walks through like, wouldn't you rather you still think that Starman was your dad instead of some loser punk who didn't want you? And she says, you don't want him to feel like us.
Yeah, I thought that was super powerful.
Yeah, that really hit because she was using Courtney's dad as an example. And that's just some asshole who disappeared and then came back into town for a necklace. But then she brings in us and doesn't even have to say anything about her father to bring all the weight of what she went through and had to live with to the conversation. And it lands on Courtney.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just love the fact that she didn't explicitly bring up her father, just Courtney's, as like a way to say, like, think how bad you feel about your dad. And Cameron's situation is a lot more like my dad. Now think about that.
Yeah.
But much more subtle than what I just did. And it works. It works on Courtney and it worked on me.
Yeah, I thought Cindy was great in that one. She also had a little line there, like, why are you telling me and not Cat Girl or something? Which I thought that was, just a great little dig at Yolanda. And how Court says, like, because I knew you wouldn't judge me. And we find out later that she's right, that she went to the right person to talk about it with because everyone else does judge her.
And I really love that they're opening the doors here for Cindy to be a different kind of friend to Courtney than the others, but just as good a friend.
Yeah.
And even later when she sees Courtney in the diner, she highlights their difference. Like, you see the good in people, I see the bad in people. And that's not an indication of them being good and bad, just the different ways that they approach the world and how those completely work together. And they make their friendship more complete.
Yeah.
Because if someone just always agrees with you and is all on the same page with you all the time, that's not going to work.
No.
You know, you're not getting a complete relationship there.
Yeah, you need a challenge sometimes.
But the way the others are challenging her isn't quite what she needs either.
Right.
It's just so good.
It is. Yeah. And then this next scene is also great with Mike and Joaquin trying to do Operation Dragon Queen.
Great name.
Everything from Mike's "we have a proposition for you," like throughout the whole scene, I was like, what a great way to start this off.
And it's a new way to see Cindy wherein she's barely able to contain her laughter the entire time. Mm-hmm. Like right from the start, and almost not in a mean way. It's a little mean, but not really.
Yeah.
It seems to me like Cindy like really actually has changed.
I think she has. And she doesn't want to be mean to them. I mean, it would have been a waste earlier to just save them from Brian and Travis. But Mike tells her that she should ditch the JSA and come join us, the Young All-Stars. And that's when Cindy finally laughs.
Yeah. The name's the best part.
Yeah. And then she walks away. You know, that's adorable. It's never going to happen. Not ever. And then Mike just calls out, but you didn't hear about the perks.
There are perks.
Oh, Mike.
I want to know what the perks are. Does Mike provide health insurance?
I don't know if it's like she can make a wish occasionally. You know, I don't know.
That's a good perk. Though, I don't know if that's a power I want Cindy to have.
Yeah.
I know
I think she's changed,
but still.
But yeah.
She could wish for a second Shiv.
Well, maybe she would wish for her dragon scales to go away.
It's a good idea, too. But I do often think about how disconcerting it must be to have that Shiv missing.
Yeah.
She probably instinctively tries to pop them both. And then with that having been ripped out, when she does that, I'm sure that hurts.
Oh, yeah.
You're messing up whatever's in there. And then, like, if she's trying to defend herself and it's not there, and then, like, gotta feel off balance. I've spent too much time thinking about what having that Shiv removed must be like for her. I can't believe I didn't discuss that with Meg. I wonder if Meg's given it the same amount of thought.
I would feel like because it would affect how she would fight and stuff.
Maybe who we should be talking to is Lauren Mary Kim.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, maybe Stunts would know better.
I love that they're using Young All-Stars, by the way.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first time he said Young All-Stars on the show, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Because I've been thinking of them as Young All-Stars all season.
Well, I think you said that at the end of last season. You were like, oh, they could go off and they could create the Young All-Stars.
Oh. I wasn't giving things away. I didn't know then.
Yeah.
But that's how I've thought of them all season long and like had to keep myself from saying it. Mm-hmm. Can we also just take a break? Not for ads, but I was thinking we're recording this early and today is the day that Breck posted a photo of her and Jeff with Gar from Titans finally sort of admitting there's going to be a crossover.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exciting.
I'm very excited for it. I mean, crossover, cameo, like who knows to the extent, but yeah.
I do. I know.
Well, yes, but I don't know.
You want me to tell you? Because I won't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I thought they were going to keep it under their hats longer. But Breck pretty much broke the Stargirl corner of the internet.
It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I loved it. And I love her tongue-in-cheek way of like, oh my God, I just totally randomly ran into these people.
Yeah, just, in my Stargirl outfit. No big deal.
Yeah. That's why I said, guys, calm down. She dresses like that everywhere she goes. It's a lot.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Oh, God. I'm really eager to tease more about the crossover because I know more about it.
Well, I don't want you to get in trouble, so you can just tell me everything off air.
Well, I'm just going to say there's stuff you guys don't know.
All right.
And I'm not going to say any more than that. And I think that'll be safe. Yeah. Okay. I stand by that. There's stuff. Okay. There's stuff you guys don't know. And just you wait.
Now I'm even more excited.
That's the plan. That's my whole purpose. All right, let's go back to the episode.
All right. So we are at the JSA table and everyone is discussing looping Cindy in. Yolanda finally says that she's open to doing it. And Courtney is too busy looking up ice stuff on her phone to pay attention.
Oh, yeah. Let's loop in Sylvester, whatever.
But that's not what they were talking about. And then Cameron comes up, and the theme from A Summer Place might as well have been playing because she's all lovey-dovey at him.
So Courtney's distractedness already derailed that very productive conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cameron showing up and then making those googly eyes at each other or whatever did not help. So the conversation about telling Cindy that Dragon King might be back and bringing her in and possibly building trust with her and making her, more of a part of the team, all of that is gone because of Courtney. God, that's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. I mean, everyone else's actions didn't help, specifically Cameron. No, specifically Rick.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah.
The curse of the Cameron and the Rick. I wonder if that happened on Superman and Lois also. Because the two twin brothers, Jordan and Jonathan, Jonathan is played by an actor named Jordan.
Oh.
Or was. Now he'll be recast because he's stepped aside. But, I mean, they're brothers. They're twins. They're in like a lot of scenes together. That must be even more confusing.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I'd thought to ask Alex Garfin about that when I ran into him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that it's the case.
Maybe you'll run into him in London again sometime.
Or maybe I'll go to Canada for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get a job on a DC show in Canada. I'm not teasing anything. I'm literally just speaking things into the universe right now.
Yeah.
And every time someone plays this podcast, you help me speak it into the universe again. So play the podcast, keep playing it, rewind, play that part back like 50 times, and then obviously go subscribe and tell all your friends about the podcast.
Yeah, and then you can, drop a 5-star review if you want.
Or however many stars that you feel is appropriate. Obviously, it's 5. I mean, come on. But, we're not going to force your hand on this.
Yeah, but just please don't do 1.
Yeah, if you want to leave a 1-star review, send us an email and really tell us what you feel about us.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll try to correct it. Otherwise, just go leave a review. Any review, just with words. Don't just tap the star. Write some words and say, this podcast is a podcast. There are people on it. And sometimes they have other people. And occasionally they say things. That's all we're asking.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
I thought this was huge that after, Courtney kind of sends Cameron on his way and she tells Rick to knock it off. Beth is the first one to step up and say, this is bad timing, Courtney. We're trying to catch a killer. Because Beth never says negative stuff like that. And it's not even that negative. It's just...
She's pretty much always on the same page with Courtney.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good barometer to use.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not on the same page as Beth, you need to check what page you're on.
Yeah. But now Court is she's feeling ganged up on, and rightfully so. They are ganging up on her.
And she storms off, which I found very un-Courtney-like.
It is, but it was after Yolanda was saying that she's not okay with it because, his dad, and Courtney says, Cameron's not his dad any more than I'm mine, Yolanda. That's not fair to him or me. I was like, that is another super powerful line, and hopefully Yolanda listens and takes it to heart.
Yeah, that's a point that I don't think anyone at that table could argue with.
Yeah. And then we go to Cindy trying to be a good friend by really pissing off Cameron and saying she's looking out for her girl because they're friends. And she brings up the summer art camp between 2nd and 3rd grade that Cameron went to, but it was less camp, more of an institution. And she keeps just poking and poking and poking at him until his eyes finally, ice up. And he says to her, I don't know why you want to hurt me, but everything you just said proves that you have not changed.
Maybe. That's all she says.
Yeah.
Also, did you notice the look of surprise on Cindy's face when his eyes iced up? She didn't look surprised at all. I didn't see any flicker of any change at all. She was just like, there it is. I knew it.
Yep. And he doesn't seem concerned that she knows.
I don't know that he knows that it happened.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
It just sort of ices up, and it's his eyes, you know? So he's probably still seeing normally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that he has any idea that happened.
All right. And then we go over to the pit stop where Sylvester is kind of taking Courtney's role as a leader of the team. And Yolanda, Rick, and Beth are telling Sylvester about what happened with Courtney and accusing him of taking her side. And he's like, no, there are no sides on a team like this. You look at what happened to the JSA and about the choice, and it made us take sides and it destroyed us.
Yeah, I really loved that line as well. Like, no, there are no sides.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in that situation. I had friends who were in a band together, and one of them got kicked out, and he came to me and he was like, why are you on their side? And blah, blah. I was like, no, there's no sides. I'm their friend. I'm your friend. I wasn't there for your drama.
Yeah.
So I'm not choosing a side, but I don't need to stop being friends with one person because another person isn't friends with them anymore. We're grown-ups here. Like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Sylvester's giving them that advice. Like, no, you need to be a team. Not being a team is what killed the JSA.
Yeah, he has really taken to heart the let people learn from your bad moments and using himself as an example over and over.
That's a good point. This is Barbara's influence right here.
Mm-hmm. And then he starts, leading and talks with Yolanda. She's going to follow Cindy and find out what she's hiding. And then Rick is going to work on fixing the hourglass. And before Beth can answer, she gets a call on her goggles from her parents who want a mission that they can help do. They learn that the Krux were out doing stuff to try and find the murderer. And so they went in on it. And Sylvester, again, uses his life as an example. First rule is you got to protect the family. Look at my sister, Mary. She got involved and now she's dead.
I would argue that she got dead because she got married.
Well, not because she got married. It's who she married.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But she didn't seem to get involved with any of the JSA stuff to kill her.
Well, we don't know the full story.
Well, the story is that once they killed Starman, Brainwave knew he was going to have to choose between Jordan and his wife. And he chose Jordan, so he killed his wife. So that's really all it was. Like, honey, I killed your brother, so I don't think this is going to work. I'm going to have to kill you also.
It was because her brother was part of the JSA.
Yeah. You know what? We should have a whole spinoff just about that. Like a sitcom. The Kings. And it's a sitcom about a former superhero who marries a supervillain, and her brother is in the JSA. In the last episode, everybody gets murdered.
I don't think I want to watch that show.
Look, it's a very forward-thinking sitcom. It's a little out of the box. I think it's got potential.
I think I would much rather watch Crusher and Paula. It doesn't have to be a sitcom. Any show, have them go on like The Amazing Race and something like that. Just have them like jump from every reality show there is.
Oh, yeah, I could see them on Top Chef. Not Paula.
I mean, I could see her making it and then, threatening the judges until she won.
Wipeout?
Yeah.
Actually, I have a friend that won Wipeout.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I did talk earlier about the scene where Cindy goes and talks to Courtney at the diner.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get into it more.
I thought the location was interesting because Yolanda works there and Courtney decided to go there. I don't know if she went there as a sort of peace offering, hoping that she would run into Yolanda there and they could talk, or if she knew that Yolanda wasn't working and so she went there, to be alone.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just near the school.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to assume that she probably is aware of Yolanda's schedule, though.
Yeah.
What with scheduling all the JSA meetings and such like.
And Cindy tells her that she didn't trust Cameron, so she triggered him and he does have powers. And she's like expecting to have a big reveal and Courtney does not react.
And here, Cindy was surprised.
Yeah.
And you already knew. I love that this kind of puts Cindy on the same page as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, ooh, no, cut bait. Cut bait, new girl. Oh, did she call her new girl again?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so she's basically on the same page with everyone else. Though if everyone else knew what she knew, they would be on another chapter.
Mm-hmm.
A chapter of like, no. Words to be had.
I was really hoping that there was going to be the moment, because she said that she saw that Cameron's grandma had the ice eyes. She saw that happen last year. And I was kind of hoping that Courtney would be like, oh, how'd you find that out? And to have Cindy be like, oh, well, I was trying to recruit Cameron to be on my ISA team. But I guess it fits better that it wasn't there.
I mean, I think Courtney must know that by now, right?
I don't know if she ever thought that Cindy would try to recruit him. It would make sense that she would think it, but I think she's blinded by her feelings towards Cameron, that she doesn't want to will that into existence, think it into existence.
That is a good point, though.
All right. And then over back at the pit stop, Sylvester is coming up to Rick, who is still working on the hourglass, and very wisely says, you know, your dad had a whole lifetime of education before he invented this thing. Like, don't beat yourself up that you can't immediately fix this. And then he talks about the limiter. And this is where he makes a mistake of telling Rick that, oh, the limiter, that can be adjusted. And
hey, he told him it was there for a reason.
But he also pointed it out to him and made Rick realize that, oh, if this isn't there, then I would always have these powers.
So as he gives Rick advice, we then follow up on Beth and the advice that he gave her. And she basically tells her parents, like, no, none of this. Y'all cannot be involved. I'm not going to have your blood on my hands. I'm worried to death about you guys all the time. As it is, no. Bad. Stay away.
Yes, but in a very Beth way, she says it.
Yes.
And it's very emotional.
Says all of that in Bethanese.
And they say, we understand, and they leave. And I'm thinking, this is still your teenage daughter. If she's telling you it's too dangerous and she doesn't want you to die, I feel like you should step in there and maybe try to guide her out of that path.
Look, parenting has never really been their thing.
It's true.
They were her friends, basically, through most of her life until they got busy. And then they were like, look, dude, you're a really great chef, but I don't think that we should be friends anymore. You should go find other friends and just keep cooking for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wanted to be sidekicks. So they've never had like a traditional parental role in her life. And I think at this point, they really just seem like they are almost idolizing her.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like she's the alpha in the house at this point because she's a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
But man, do they ever look dejected when they walk out of that room?
Oh, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, they look so sad.
And we cut from that back over to Rick, who very easily just takes out the limiter and then patches up his hourglass and puts it on, and we see the glow go all throughout his body. So I'm sure nothing bad's going to happen there.
He's just going to be super strong all the time. It's fine for Superman.
Yeah, I was thinking that because I know in the comics, one of the versions of Our Man, like it was a pill, right? That he would take and then had the addiction to that. And then that's why he had to create like the limit on it. So I'm like, I wonder if they're going to go down that route with Rick.
So how much of Arrow did you watch?
Only the first few seasons and then here and there.
So do you remember the Mirakuru, the drug everyone was taking to make them really strong, but they were also super very aggro?
Yes.
I think it was Deathstroke had something to do with it. Maybe Deathstroke was on it. That was Arrow invoking the Miraclo.
Oh, okay.
From Our Man. That was their like reference to that. They changed the name around a little bit.
Okay.
But that was the drug that Our Man took in the comics. Also, a different Our Man in the comics is a robot. So
I hope they go that direction.
Yeah. Dropping some major hints for you here. There was a robot Hour Man in the comic. Take that as you will. I'm just trolling people now at this point. I have been given too much power, and I am abusing it.
All right. So while Rick's getting all muscled up there, Cindy goes down into the same lab that Sylvester was at earlier, desperate to find some answers, and love that she looks over at the lizard and just says, ew. Cute little difference between her and Sylvester there.
Also, she doesn't get waylaid by the mirror for 10 minutes.
It's true.
Despite the fact that, as we'll see in a moment, she still has so many photos of herself by herself in her room.
That was so funny. Not even just in her room, also in the hallway. There's giant posters or paintings or whatever.
No, it's just a big photo of her right at the end of the hall by her. It's like poster sized.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's like 3 feet tall. Just her face. Hello, I'm Cindy. Here I am, worship me.
But Yolanda is not having that. When she goes in there, she's breaking into Cindy's house looking for different clues to prove that Cindy is not being fully truthful with them.
Oh, she goes into that place like it's Mar-a-Lago. See, I'm bringing in current events.
Yep.
Current-ish events.
And then Pat goes into Courtney's room. Is this the issue you had with the closed door?
Yes.
Because Buddy's in there.
What if he has to pee?
Yeah.
He's just in her room with the door closed.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I was like, what? Courtney, what? But really think about it. She's been so distracted. She's had nothing but Ice Boy on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
She probably was sitting there petting Buddy as she was getting ready to leave or whatever, and then just walked out and closed the door without even thinking about it. Because all she's thinking about is Ice Hotel.
Oh, well, no, she went out the window. When Pat goes in there, the window is wide open. Or at least that was my assumption, that she just decided, okay, time to go. And left Betty in there.
Well, the next time we see her, she's with Cameron. Unless she hid the cosmic staff in a bush.
Well, I think she could climb out.
I think she walked out the door and closed it behind her.
Okay.
And just didn't even notice Buddy was there. That's the issue we have here. She locked Buddy in her room. Yeah. He definitely can't get out that window.
No, he can't.
Anyway, the whole point of the scene is not that Buddy is locked in the room. The point is that Courtney is not there and Pat is wondering where she is.
Yes, and he should know that she snuck out to go to a boy's house. And she's over at Cameron's, hanging out in front of a fire.
To me, it's all about how long has Buddy been locked in there, but that is not what the show wants us to focus on. So I want you guys to know we're focused on Courtney here and Pat wondering where she has gone.
Yes, mostly.
I'll give you a spoiler. Spoiler, it's not about Buddy. I can say that definitively. This isn't going to come back as an issue.
Great. That's all I was looking forward to.
You heard it here first. When CBR posts about it or Screen Rant, just know it came from me first.
So Courtney is showing Cameron this ice hotel and talking about how beautiful it is. And I thought that was really great that she is showing him the beauty of his power, that it's not all about problems and explosions and all that kind of stuff. It's you can create really beautiful stuff. And then he does do that. He creates a little miniature version of that hotel. And they're having a cute little moment. And meanwhile, his grandparents are peering in and they are not happy.
No. I mean, it's hard to say how unhappy they really are, because I think when you get to a certain age, you just look miserable all the time because like your bones hurt and stuff. But they look like they're mad about that, not just their bones.
Yeah, I think so. Mad and probably a little disappointed. And then we cut over to Wildcat going through Cindy's room, and she finds a gambler's laptop under Cindy's bed. And that's it. Cindy's a murderer.
I knew it, she says. Case closed. Dun dun. And that's the episode. So we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we are traveling to the Ice Hotel, where we will have a talk with Hunter Sansone about various things, most of them involving ice.
Stargirl After Show. Stargirl After Show.
All right, so I am here with Hunter Sansone, and I'm very excited for this conversation, Hunt, because there's stuff going on that we've been waiting since season 1 for.
3 seasons. 3 seasons of waiting. I feel you there.
I mean, this show is king of the slow burn. And I mean, we've been waiting for Cameron's powers to manifest. We got a little teeny peek of it here and there in the earlier seasons, but now it's finally like, boom, hello, Icicle Jr.
Yeah, it's finally coming front and center. I know it's as you said, it was definitely teased a little bit about the prior seasons, but it really is coming out full force here. And I think the fact that it's being combined with the whole romance coming to the front of the storyline, as well as what's making everything so complicated, but hopefully entertaining.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they're also sort of taking away the heart of Cameron, which is his art.
Yep.
It's like there's a price for the power.
Absolutely. And I think that makes for such an interesting, inner conflict for Cameron, just having that whole thing, because I mean, that's what it all is. Everyone was confused when they were watching the earlier episodes. Like, why is he avoiding Courtney and why is he doing all this and acting a certain way? And it's because he's as everyone knows now, he was so afraid of hurting her. He didn't know what was going on, and it's taking away the thing he loves most, his art. And that's why he's so destroyed on the inside and so conflicted, because that's the one thing he loves. And to go even deeper, that is how he stayed close to his mom, was through art. That was something he would do with her at a young age, and, really kept that going. And that is when he felt closest to her, was when he was painting. So that's being threatened, which is, not good.
And all of that really helps to set him up as a potential bad guy, because we haven't had, prior to this season, any reason to think that getting ice powers would make Cameron break bad. But now we're left wondering, because he's been pretty aggro. Yeah.
I mean, that sky's the kind of the limit there on what can happen, because at least what I went with as an actor, I was just kind of going with this idea that these powers and the ice are, flowing through my body and my veins, and I feel completely unnatural and in a state of almost constant shock and or pain. And you deal with that on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure you could turn into a person that you're not supposed to be real quick.
Of course, there's always the mystery of whether he's going to find out the truth about his dad and how he's going to handle that as well.
It is. Yeah, that is there. That's also been one of the biggest questions going into the season. I said, I think it came out in a little press interview that I put on Instagram, but I described this as a season of answers, because it really is. It's like everything you've wondered, especially surrounding the Courtney and Cameron relationship, and in specific just to Cameron and what's going on in his whole world, that all comes out. And for me, it was super satisfying to be able to be like, okay, we're going to explore this. And I've heard little bits and pieces of the fan base wanting to, get that resolved. So for the most part, I think people will be satisfied with what comes out.
Yeah, and I love that you're getting more screen time and that Cameron's coming more to the forefront of the cast. I think someone put together a supercut of season 1 Cameron, and it was like 6.5 minutes. Every frame of Cameron in season 1 came out to some ridiculously low number, and you don't realize that because you're like there pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, no, I was literally there I've been there for the whole 6 months, every single season. It was it was definitely interesting. I mean, I just kind of trusted the process. Jeff, when we first met and signed on board in the beginning, 4 years ago, he kind of laid out the whole multi-season plan, and it was always going to be a, slow but powerful burn. And, it's turned out like that. And I feel like, when you have it like that, you may feel impatient. But at the end of the day, I think it's been handled the best possible way, because it's paying off right now. There's some shows out there where it's like everything's immediate. And I get it. I do. But in this case, I think it's paying off in the long run. Yeah, but I got to experience being with the cast the whole 6 months, every season. And, I was in a number of episodes that didn't actually make the final cut. So I was doing more work, but they just weren't ending up in the final piece.
I remember a particular bathroom scene in the first season.
Yes. It
was a big deal, and it kept getting smaller and smaller until it just wasn't there.
That was when he was going to discover the ice powers for the first time.
Yeah.
And then, a scene I brought flowers to Courtney after an accident.
Because
she didn't go to homecoming.
Yeah, after Shiv beat her up.
Yes. Yep. That one didn't make. I mean, there's been a number, but that's happened to everybody. That's just part of the process. But yeah, man, I mean, it's cool. It's like, here we go. Season 3. It's like you're getting everything that you would hope for with Cameron.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about other shows, how they will be immediate with things, and it can be so jarring. I can't speak to how, the writers' rooms in those shows work, but it feels like a lack of planning. Like they decide on Monday, well, what if these two had a romantic connection?
I really don't know. Absolutely. Yeah. It just goes right away, dives into the romance. And, that's got its own world. Like that is for some people, like that's what they dig, and it works. But Jeff's trajectory for Cameron and Courtney's romance was slow but steady. And I think it made the most sense this way, because if you try to throw it in the mix, like super hot and heavy in the earlier seasons, I feel like the timing wasn't right. There were too many other big events taking place. You got Eclipso and all these massive storylines. To try to throw that into the forefront of those seasons, I just feel like you would have had too much going on. So
also, it's like really earned at this point. And I'm not a fan of romance on TV shows, and I mean, I'm a fan of romance, of course, but I've been very vocal about, like, I don't need Camney or Starcat or Our Night or any of that to enjoy the show.
Yes.
And yet, even though I knew it was coming because I'd read the script, when I watched episode 4 of this season and the kiss finally happened, I was like, yeah!
I felt the same way. Like when I finally watched it, it was one thing to like experience it on set, which was magical, and we can talk about that. But like the actual watching the final cut of 4 blew me away with the music and the slow-mo. It's just like in the camera work, the cinematography, it was so cute. I think it's the best way to put it. It was just like adorable, and it was well done. And, it felt that way on set, like on the day. Like it was like such a moment. We were like, wow, this is finally happening. Breck and I had been like, this is like, at some point they're going to kiss, and who knows when. And we saw the script and we were like, okay, here we go. And it was just like the fake snow and the gazebo, and like, it was just, I don't know. It was just so well done. It was a magical experience.
It's really great that they could make you feel the way the audience felt and the way the characters felt.
Yes.
They both were like, oh my God, finally.
Yes. Yeah. Cause it was like, I won't speak for Courtney, but I mean, I would assume like for Cameron, it was like always bubbling under the surface, but there was so much going on that it just never happen. And there were always the interruptions, always the text messages and the phone calls. And like, Courtney's got to go save the world. And so now it's like, we're getting this, this time. And instead of her saving the world, she's saving me, which is so sweet. And it's cool. I love it. I'm so happy to see it happening. And Breck is so enjoyable to work with, as she always has been. But obviously this season was so much for her and I. So we really, really got close and got to experience working together in a whole new way. I mean, I feel like I can say that about the whole cast, because now I got to really work with everybody and we had a blast.
That's really great to hear. Because I've enjoyed every moment I've spent with any of you guys. You're all such wonderful people.
Oh, well, thank you. We feel the same way about you and the whole freaking crew and team. I mean, it's been a dream. And listen, like, I'd love to go do this thing again. I'd love to go do this thing, every year. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. But it's an emotional show, and it's an emotional journey. Like, especially for me, just to think about 4 years of my life, committed to this experience. It's been 3 seasons, but I got the job in early 2019.
Yeah.
And so it's been 4.5 years of my life. And
I mean, the show hasn't even caught up with where we are. It's still a year ago.
I know. Is it? Yeah, that's incredible. So I get lost sometimes with the time frames.
If anyone is confused, just in case any news comes out between the time we're recording this and the time we post it, we're recording this about a week and a half before the episode posts.
Yes.
So if there's any news about season 4, we don't know it yet. And that's why we're speaking.
Yeah. Good call on that, Shawn. Yeah. We do not know about season 4 at this point.
Yeah, it feels like it's coming any day. We don't know.
I know. I've heard we're supposed to know soon. And then
since April, we've been supposed to know in the next couple of days.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's I've been told at the end of this month, and then at the end of this month, and then at the end of this month. So who knows when we actually will hear. I mean,
there is the possibility we get through this entire season without knowing if we're having another season.
I guess there is. I hate to think of that, but it is what it is. We're out here doing our thing, and
it's so weird to be the only show on in the entirety of a network that doesn't know what's next.
I know. And part of me is that's got to be a good sign, Just
they decided which ones they wanted to get rid of, right?
Yeah, decided what they want to get rid of. They can't. It's they can't decide here. It's I guess you can look at that in any sort of way. It could be good news or bad news, but I'll choose to look at it in a glass half full situation.
Absolutely. You have to. Otherwise, you just go crazy.
Yeah. And yeah. So
we're trying.
We're hanging in.
But yeah, I just can't speak highly enough of the fact that how slow the romance built and the reveal of the powers and all of this has been, it's felt so organic.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, it really has. Like we already touched on, it's just rushing something like that. I feel like it won't work. And now the payoff and the satisfaction, and, I've seen the Twitter world out there. I've done some live tweeting, and, it seems like people were freaking out when it was happening. So it seems like it, paid off. And, I think everything throughout this season is like that, and not even just surrounding my storyline. It's multiple characters. You get so much satisfaction. That's the biggest thing. My mom loves watching Stargirl and all sorts of different shows, and she's pretty critical, with just TV in general. And she loves how this was done, as far as the pacing and the timing and things like that. So she's a harsh critic. So I'm okay. She respects it, so clearly we're doing something right. Yeah,
and moving past, the kiss, the initial culmination of that slow burn into this episode that we're actually discussing, episode 5.
Yes.
Seeing the continuation of that is also just really building that relationship in a really good and solid way.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, as at this point, you guys will have already seen it, but you know, the episode opens on a continuation of the kiss. We walk Courtney back home and have another cute romantic moment. And yeah, it's like she's so supportive and so like willing to help and fearless in a sense of helping this kid who's lost, you know, and that's, you know, that's kind of where we pick up in episode 5 is us continuing on from the kiss and having another moment at the house. And she's just so determined. She's so determined to help me. And it's kind of even to her own detriment with her friends in the JSA. And, you know, she says, I don't know if it's in episode 5 or if she already said it in one of the previous episodes, but she's like, we're the JSA. We're supposed to help people, right? You know? And that's exactly what she's doing with me. And I think she sees that Cameron is a good guy and is just a little misguided, you know?
Though it is important to note that making sure he isn't misguided is actually a very smart thing for her to do.
Yes, it is. Yeah, given the obvious circumstances and what he's capable of. And
I mean, if that kid looks up some Norwegian, he's got some questions for his grandparents.
Major questions. He doesn't even realize how powerful he is. He has no idea what is happening. He's just, you know, he's discovering all these new things about himself, and he still is so in the dark. As much as there has already been answers, there's still so much. Like at this point into episode 5, so much is to be discovered for him. He has the truth, and who knows if he ever will.
How do you handle the I don't know how to phrase this exactly because I'm not an actor. How do you handle you, Hunter, keeping Cameron in the dark about the truth about his father?
Well, you know, it's just kind of it's just the choice just to, you know, go with it. It's hard to really describe. I mean, you just kind of, how do I separate me from any character I've ever played on any show or film? You obviously, like, I feel like you keep bits and pieces of who you are. But at the same time, you go into this imaginary circumstance land, and you just go with it. I wish I could give you some like really cool actory answer where I'm like, oh yeah, it's this, and this. But at this point, like, I just kind of
look, Hunt. I'm going to give you a pass because that was a real crap question. Like, so what's acting like?
No, man, it's all good. Like, honestly, I feel like there's not enough questions about like the actual process of acting when people are doing interviews about the craft and stuff like that. And so, you know, there's a whole world, there's a whole process, there's a whole technique, but to save everybody the time and the bore, like, you just, for me, it's like I've had 3 seasons with this guy. And so I've built a backstory from, you know, 2019 about who this guy is. And so for the fact that I've been with him for so many years now, he's become a part of me. And there's not really a moment where it's like, oh, I got to drop in now. He's at this point, 3 to 4 years in, he's just with me because of all of this. Now you bring me back to season 1, getting limited screen time and things like that. It was more, okay, let's review some backstory. Let's hop in and like jump into the character. Now it's like secondhand nature for me. So that's kind of the short and sweet of it. If that makes sense and answers your question at all.
Absolutely. Now, I want to jump away from Stargirl for a little bit because last time we spoke, I believe you were just getting ready to direct a film.
Yes.
And I want to know what's going on with that, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it has been, so it was a short film. It was called A Brother Story. It is called A Brother Story. And yeah, we shot it and released it through the festival circuit right now. So it's not available to the general public yet because I'm letting it go through all the film festivals and they require that it doesn't have a public release until it's done. So yeah, we've got accepted, I think, almost 10 festivals now. And we've, it's been a really cool ride. We were at a festival in Florida and South Dakota and like all these random.
Which one in Florida?
Sunscreen Film Festival.
I worked at the Sarasota Film Festival for like 15 years.
Oh, cool. And then we just got accepted into the Newport Beach Film Festival. That'll be in a few weeks. Adam Sandler is actually receiving an award there. So that'll be really, really cool to be a part of. So we'll be screening there. And yeah, it was an insane experience. I mean, I directed it, I wrote it, I produced it, and I co-starred in it. So I was wearing a million hats. Cameron Gelman co-produced, which was awesome. A number of my buddies co-produced it, helped make it happen and bring it to life. And then, yeah, one of my best friends, Adam, he was my AD and like my on-set creative producer. And he was also doing a million other jobs and he co-starred in it as well. So yeah, it was a full team effort and it was fun. We shot it on my farm over the course of 3 days. And it was just a sweet coming of age adventure story between two brothers and, touches on themes of war and, family drama and loss. And it was a tribute to the people I've had in my life that are no longer here. And it was just kind of this idea that even though we may lose people in our lives, they're always with us one way or another. And that was kind of the theme of the film. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. And I actually had a lot of Stargirl help. Andy Armaganian connected me with the entire post team of Stargirl.
Oh, nice.
Who basically did my post. So I had Owen, sound supervisor, do my sound. I had Josh Carrillo do my editing. He's my editor. And then I had one of the VFX artists do my poster. So, I mean, it was incredible. I was spoiled. 100% spoiled to have this incredible team of professionals, doing this little short film for basically nothing, just out of, passion and the kindness of their hearts. So proud of it. Of course, you look back on a film, you wish there's so many things you would have done differently. I wish I would have taken more risks, shot and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, I feel good about it.
Well, that's great. And for your first directorial thing, I'm sure it's going to be better than a lot of people's first time out directing. And
I gotta send it to you.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
I mean, it's 18 minutes long, easy watch. I've got a little Vimeo link, password protected for now, but once it goes through its festivals, I will do a little public release online.
Nice. And everyone should, of course, check your local festivals. Shorts tend to be packaged together. So if you see a shorts package at your local festival, look through there and try to find a brother's story.
Yeah.
Hopefully it comes to Atlanta. We have a very good film festival.
Yes. I submitted to one or two of them and I don't think we've heard back yet. So hopefully that happens. Great film community in Atlanta. And I'm always putting it on my Instagram, like updates. There's a brother story. That's literally the name of the Instagram account, A Brother Story. And then I'm always posting festival acceptances and selections on my actual page.
Oh, very nice. As any of my Instagram followers can tell you, I am pretty garbage at Instagram.
Hey, you know what? Truthfully, I feel like I am too. Like, I never post. I basically post when there's something to promote. I use it for work. That's what I do. I use it for work. A lot of people use it for personal life and when they go on trips and things like that. My stories, like my Instagram stories, it's just kind of my life. But when I'm actually posting, it's just for work. I feel like I don't take great pictures. I'm not like super savvy with like, the style of how the page has got to look. So I hear you there. Don't worry.
I mean, when I went to the UK, I had Sarah take over all the socials, and there were multiple comments that were like, yeah, Sarah's doing a much better job at all this than Shawn. We're actually getting Stargirl content.
I love that. Hey,
I couldn't argue.
Maybe we should let everybody know about our little run in at the airport.
Oh yeah. I think I mentioned it on the podcast actually, but yeah, Hunter and I were on the same flight to London.
Literally the exact same flight. So my mom and I came out of St. Louis, where I'm from, and we connected into Atlanta, and then yeah, we were on the same Delta flight to London. I saw you. It was just so bizarre. And we were all in London for the same time.
Yeah, it was funny. I don't know if I told you, but so we ran into each other in the hallway. He was going to the gate. I was running to grab a drink or go to the restroom or something. Said hi in the hallway. He went down to the gate. And as I'm walking back to the gate, I get a text from my wife. It's like, one of the guys from your show is here.
No way. I didn't know that. That's so funny.
Yeah. She's, I don't know if she remembered his name was Cameron, but, or she just said the ice guy.
Right. That's great. That's so funny. Yeah. Such a small world. Well, we had a great time in London. Well, at least I'll speak for myself. We did. And it sounds like you did as well.
Oh yeah. I we went out to the country in a little village called Weston for a week. We stayed in like this 17th century thatched roof cottage that was like something out of a fairy tale. There was just like a little river in front of us. We went for a short walk and there were horses.
Was it like the Hobbit vibes? Like the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, like that type of like scenery?
Kind of, yeah. Actually, there were several photos that I took that reminded me of Lord of the Rings, and I posted them to the Lord of the Rings subreddit.
Oh.
And they all got highly upvoted.
That's so cool. That's the one thing we didn't do is like get out to the countryside, and I regret it. There's so much to do. We did, like I already told you, we did so much, but there was still so much left. Like I wanted to get out to, I'm forgetting the name, but it's like a town, very famous town. And we didn't get to. We basically just stayed in our little area by Russell Square, kind of in the heart of all the touristy action.
Well, you know how whenever anyone goes on vacation, by the end, they're like, I need a vacation from my vacation.
Yes.
We decided that we were going to go out for 2 weeks, and England has such a great variety. There's London and other like big cities, but then they have like the quaint country. And we were like, let's spend a week just decompressing and like living this super chill country life. And
so smart.
After the run of stressful jobs that I've had, working on stressful shows, like I really needed that, and it hit the spot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, that was my first trip abroad. I've done very little like big traveling like that overseas, like none actually.
Same. Last year was my first international trip. We went to Greece.
The farthest like out of the U.S. I've been is like Jamaica. Like that, like that is like which is like right there. So, for me to actually, take how long was that flight? 9 hours or something?
Yeah, it was
10.
It was a lot.
Yeah, like that was a first, and that took some getting used to.
Can I tell you, stick with the long flights versus a broken up flight.
Okay.
Because switching planes on an international trip is not fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. I wouldn't. I'm all for nonstops, like as close to a nonstop as I can get.
Yeah. When we went to Greece, we stopped over in Germany. It was like a 5 or 6 hour layover. And then like we had to go back through security again, even though we never left the airport, and that confused us. And it was a whole thing. The nonstop is definitely the way to go. Always do that. Yep.
Agreed. Second that. All you travelers out there, this is Shawn and Hunter's travel advisory show.
The least traveled guys give you your travel tips.
That'd be a hilarious concept.
I mean, I literally never left the country until I was 42 years old.
Hey, man. I mean,
I didn't have a passport until last year.
Oh, wow. Okay. I got you beat there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, hey, that's what growing up poor will do for you. You know, you don't even consider leaving the country.
Hey, man, priorities. But that's.
Yeah, it's nice not being poor anymore. I'll tell you that.
No, I hear you there. Feels good when you can actually like go out and do things with the people you love and have cool experiences.
Yeah. And, you know, London was, man, it's just like nonstop. You could do something at all hours, all the time.
Yeah. It was like New York, I feel like, in that sense. Like just constant go. Oh,
yeah. You know, one of the more fun things we did was we found a map of online of where Banksy had put a bunch of stuff. And we walked around for like 3 hours and just found 4 different Banksies.
So funny story to tie that in. I have posters all over. Like, do you know what a vision board is?
Yeah.
So I have like vision boards for Cameron with tons of Banksy artwork and his books. When I got the show in 2019, that's the first thing I did is I collected all of this Banksy work, and Banksy is Cameron's idol. So that's a little fun fact that, you know, obviously doesn't come out in the show, but if you were to read my little backstory that I wrote,
nice.
Banksy is my idol.
It's not necessarily canon, but it's Hunter canon.
Hunter canon?
Yeah. Which, you know, if you ever wanted to be like an action star, that could be your new pseudonym, Hunter Cannon.
Right? Yeah, so cool. That's awesome. What do you what I have a question for you.
Oh, hit me.
What is because obviously you're super active like online with, you know, the YouTube and the Twitter and Instagram and all that. Like what do you find is the biggest, I don't know, is there a question or a thing that fans are like dying to see this season that like hasn't come out yet that you feel like people are just like hoping happens or wanting to see or something like that?
I will say across all the Stargirl things that I track, and I'm talking Discord, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the Stargirl fans are so invested and so creative. They have so many theories of so many things that they want to see happen. And some of them are like legit really good.
Wow.
This guy, Robert C. Culp on Twitter today posted like an 8 or 9 tweet thread about like how he thinks this season's going to go. And it's good reading.
That's so interesting. That is so cool.
So I don't think anything like really jumps out. I mean, people want to see more of Jenny for sure. People want to see Obsidian. And crossovers. That's the thing. Everyone wants crossovers.
Yeah. Who knows about those crossovers?
And I can't. I mean, I get why people want to see the characters interact and stuff, but like, man.
Are you not a big crossover guy?
I mean, look, I've loved the ones that were in the Arrowverse because they, you know, made sense. Crisis on Infinite Earths was like the king of all crossovers. Mm-hmm. It brought in Smallville. It brought in the movie Flash. It like did all this great stuff. 1989 Batman. But I don't know, with Stargirl, I'm just like protective and I love the story that's happening. And I feel like bringing Barry Allen over is just going to muddy the waters or.
I get it. I completely get it. You, honest opinion, like how much of the season have you seen?
I've seen all of it.
How do you feel? Like, what do you think?
It's fantastic, man.
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
You know, I from reading the scripts and then watching the episodes, like there's so many things that are just so well done because there's so much thought put into everything.
Yes.
And like I've worked on shows where literally you can tell as they write the episode, they don't know what the next episode's going to be.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, it all feels fly by the seat of their pants. You can tell on the script, you can tell on the show. And this show isn't that. And I love that. And it's legitimately so good.
Well, I love hearing that. And it's so true, though. I will second that. Like everything is meticulously planned out and everything has a reason. Nothing's just like happening. Everything has got a reason. Everything matters. Something that happens in episode 1 comes full circle in like whatever, episode 10, you know, like just for example. And that's all tribute to the amazing writers and directors and like Jeff just being able to be so serious about the quality. And I think that's the biggest thing that separates Stargirl as a show is the quality is insane. It's like, you know, I've had, that was the first thing people told me when season 1 dropped. They're like, wow, we haven't seen this quality of a superhero show on television in a long time. That was like the first thing I was hearing.
Yeah. I mean, I went in with very high expectations and I was legitimately flummoxed at how good it was. It so far exceeded my expectation. I mean, that's why I started this podcast. I didn't start this podcast just because I could call you guys and say, hey, come be on my podcast.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's because I do genuinely love this show and I want it to keep going. Even if I weren't working on it, I would be like, please continue making this show.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, you know, it's like I said earlier, it's emotional to think of the possibility that we don't go any more seasons because it's like the fact that everybody, you know, it was, you were there, you're a part of it. It was like, we're all a family now. And so it's tough to think of that not happening again. So that's why I'm, you know, fingers crossed that we get more.
But it is important to note that, you know, even if we don't get another season and, you know, knock wood that we do.
Yes.
Or touch wood for those of us that have been to England, have picked up all their mannerisms.
Yes.
You know, even if we don't get a 4th season, this season really does wrap things up in a very satisfactory way and feels complete. It feels like a good send-off.
Agreed.
If it needs to be that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't close off there being more either. But yeah,
you know what I got to admit, like to give you guys credit, I was not, I had very little comic knowledge, like coming into the show. Like Jake Austin Walker was an example of the complete opposite of me. Like he had all this incredible knowledge that I like envied. I was like, God, I wish I knew all this stuff. And I've learned so much from the crew, from you, the fan base. Just I've learned so much about the comic world and like Stargirl and things like that. Like I had to educate myself when I got the job because I just didn't, that wasn't something that was just like in my household growing up. I just didn't have comic books laying around and I was watching movies, superhero shows and things like that. But it was a real new experience for me getting this because I really had to learn. And you guys, the crew and the team, like everyone was like experts. And I was like, what? All right, I gotta like figure this out.
But don't feel bad about that, because I can probably count on one hand the number of actors in comic book properties who were familiar with the characters before they got the roles.
Is Jake one of them?
Yeah, Jake's definitely one of them.
I'm so happy for him with his show. I don't know if you saw, he's on a new show.
Oh yeah, I was watching the trailer for it, and I was just like, my wife was watching Bachelorette or something next to me, and I'm just watching a trailer. I had no idea he was in it, and I paused and I'm like, Jessica, look, it's Jake. It's Jake.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's so deserved. I mean, he's a
national treasure.
Yeah, national treasure. Disney Plus. He's joined the Disney because I obviously had a football movie on Disney Plus, so him and I are now part of the Disney Plus family.
That's a good segue too, because Nicolas Cage is one of those other ones that is super into comics.
Oh, there you go. Didn't know that.
His last name Cage actually came from Luke Cage.
No
the
way.
Marvel character, because his real last name is Coppola.
Okay, wow. I did not know he's a Coppola.
Yeah, he didn't want to coast on the Coppola name, and so he changed his name to Cage.
That is wow. That actually makes me respect him for that. Good for him.
You know, he's a man that is to be respected and ridiculed in equal part.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about, like, you know, whatever the current like talk is about Nick Cage or not, but all I do know is I respect that, the fact that he didn't want to coast on his last name. Yeah,
I mean, look, go watch the unbearable weight of massive talent. If you haven't seen it, you really should.
I haven't seen it, but I've had so many people tell me I need to see it.
It shows that he knows how ridiculous he can be, and he's kind of in on the joke, and it's fantastic.
Oh, I love that.
I worked on a little indie movie while one of the little pet project indie movies that he did was shooting in the same building. And I can't tell you, like, I don't get starstruck or anything, but I was weirdly excited that I was in the building with Nicolas Cage and really wanted to meet him, because it just seems like it would be an experience.
Yeah, no kidding. That is so neat. Yeah, the dude is doing something right, man. He's been in the business for a long time, and he's got his niche.
My wife and I went to a burlesque show in New Orleans. It was a nerdy burlesque.
Okay.
At this place called the Red Dragon Cafe. And one of the acts was a girl doing her striptease to not music, but a compilation of Nicolas Cage screaming. And it was the best thing I've ever seen. I don't even
know how to imagine that.
I know, right? But that girl imagined it and she executed it, and it was magical.
You know what? That is good for her. That is, because I would not even know how to handle something like that, but I'm like weirdly intrigued.
Yeah, right? And that's the reaction I always get when I tell people that story. One of my favorite experiences in all of New Orleans. And that's saying something for New Orleans.
Yeah, right. I just went to New Orleans for my first time, however many months ago. I was in Mississippi visiting my cousin, and then we drove down to New Orleans for a day.
Nice.
It was cool. We ate I had the famous beignet at Cafe Du Monde.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
that's quite a line to stand in.
Yeah, it was weirdly that day, like, under control. It wasn't anything like you show up and you're like, this is insane.
Oh, the fun part is when you're in the line actually goes past another beignet place.
What?
Yeah, it gets long enough that there's a beignet place down on the next block, and you're just like standing in this line and you're looking at like a quarter mile of people in front of you, and you're like, there's beignets right to the right of me, and there's no one in there.
I bet they taste the same.
Probably, but I also had to go to Cafe Du Monde because if a place is known for having the best of something, you go there. I got the coffee mug.
Oh, there you go. I have a beignet kitchen decor sign in my kitchen from when I went to New Orleans.
Nice. My first trip to New Orleans was very spur of the moment. I wrapped a show here in Atlanta. It was the middle of the week. You know, one of those things where, you know, you get your last martini on a Tuesday. And my mentor was the production designer on Preacher in New Orleans. And I was like, it's in the middle of the week. I'll just drive to New Orleans tomorrow and visit the set of Preacher. And I spent a couple of days on the set of Preacher, and it was wild fun.
That is so cool. I love that.
Another one of my favorite comic book shows.
Yep, I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Same creative team as The Boys, which is, you know, super blowing up.
Yeah, one of my good friends plays Starlight.
Oh, that's right. I think you mentioned to me that you knew her.
Yeah, from back in the day, we started out in acting class together, and we haven't talked in a while. We've lost touch, but she'll always be a good friend of mine.
And one of your friends auditioned for Starlight as well.
Yes, I know. Such a small world, this industry. It really is. Like, mutual friends that like have crossed paths in one way or another. It's just...
Oh, yeah. I mean, hanging out with Angelica and Yvette and Trey and Alcoy during Dragon Con.
Yes.
The conversations really lead you to believe that Los Angeles is 2.5 square miles.
I know. Yeah. That's how it goes. It's such a small world. It really is. Like, I had a friend come down and visit Atlanta. No, I had a friend, he was shooting in Atlanta while I was shooting season 1. And I was like, oh, come meet me at like this hotel bar. And he met me at this bar, and Meg was with me. And him and Meg ended up like knowing each other, and they had worked together on like some show. Maybe it was the Fosters or something like that from way back in the day.
Oh, yeah, everybody was on the Fosters apparently.
Yeah, I was like, what? Like, what? I don't even know how this happens. Like, Breck and I were in the same acting class for a little bit before we ever met. She like checked out my acting class, and before we actually had our final chemistry read, before I got the offer, we did it in the hallway, like all of our mutual connections and friends, and that made it feel a lot more. What's the word? It took the pressure off for me when I went into that final meeting with her and Jeff and everybody at WB, because I was like, oh, we've got common ground, you know?
Oh yeah. It's a lot easier to have chemistry with someone that you've seen in the flesh before.
Yeah, 100%. Then like, who am I going to see on the other side of this door? So yeah,
I got to say, all of that seems real weird and stressful. The whole audition and chemistry test and all that stuff.
I mean, it is.
Sometimes it sounds almost like speed dating. Like they're just like pairing people up in sequence.
Yeah. The mix and matching. Yeah, it really is. It's a crazy process, man. I mean, it is, you have to like program your mind to be just like super focused and strong and just ready to go. Cause it's a weird process, but if you get good people, it can go a lot smoother. And I had good people. I had Breck. Like, all my attention was focused on Breck for that meeting because I felt comfortable with her. And then, you know, you look out into the audience and there's like 15 executives. But Jeff was out there and he was super kind and supportive. And the casting director was out there kind. Like, everybody was nice, but you feel it when it's a cold room. Like, you can feel that, and it makes it makes a difference.
So, you know, when you didn't get a thing.
I'd say it's safe to know when you don't get something. But it's hard to know when you got something, because I'll just like spill it. I walked out of that audition, that chemistry read, and I knew I couldn't have done anything better. I was like, there's no, like, that went as well as I could have imagined in my wildest dreams. And there is nothing more I was physically or emotionally capable of doing. That was all Hunter. There was no more I could give. And I was like, if I don't get the job, it's fine. It's not like if they would have had me back again, I would have just done this, essentially the same thing because I gave everything. There was no more I could have given. And
so if they had given it to someone else, it would have just been that they wanted something different, not that
they just wanted something different. And that's what happens 90% of the time. 90% of the time, it's literally just, okay, we're just going for a different look.
It's different, not better.
Different, not better. And this was just one of those times where it was fortunate enough that physically, looks wise, I was what they were going for. And then emotionally, I was also what they were looking for. And, when those two things line up, that's when you get the job. But I can't tell you the hundreds of times I've lost out on jobs, something I can't control. And that's usually what people experience is they don't get a job because they can't control the how they look or how tall they are,
Yeah. But that's a really good attitude to have. If you go in, you're like, I did the best I could.
Yeah.
If I don't get it, then I don't get it because it just wasn't right for me.
Absolutely. But on the other hand, you also know when you didn't all right, I kind of messed up there or I didn't deliver. You can feel that. But when I was walking out of Stargirl, I was like, I knew I did what I was supposed to do. And I saw Breck afterwards too, walking out of the WB lot. And she was like, good job. She was like, that was great.
She already had the role at that point?
Yeah, she had the role. She had the job. So she was just reading with people for Rick and for Cameron and for things like that. And I only ever read for Cameron. I think a lot of the other, I don't know, Cameron Gelman may have read for Cameron Mahkent. I don't know, but the only role I ever went out for was Cameron.
The only one I know that read for a different character that I know of is
Yvette did.
Meg read for Yolanda.
Okay, and I think Yvette read for Shiv. For Cindy.
Perhaps.
I think it was both of them. Or you could just be right and I'm just remembering it wrong. It could be both of them, or it could just be one.
Yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong. It's been a long time. I've done a lot of these interviews.
I know. I hear you. Well, I'm glad we could sit down and catch up and talk about what's already happened and what people can expect going forward.
Yeah. Why don't you just give us a vague teaser of what people can expect going forward? I want to put you on the spot. Oh, actually, no. You said you were going to put me on the spot. You had a question that you wanted to ask me.
Oh, yes. Well, I already asked you that, but
yeah, but I didn't answer you.
Yeah, you didn't. Someone I saw on someone's Instagram story that you made your own version of the poster. And, I was like, it's early in the morning. Maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. Is that me in the corner? Am I hiding behind Rick? But I just didn't see Cameron on the poster. And, I was just wondering what happened there, my guy.
Here's what happened. Don't blame me, blame production. Because I could not find a decent photo, a full body photo of you / Cameron.
It's completely fine.
I had to use a season 1 photo of Mike. He looks very young on that poster.
Shawn.
They didn't shoot any good photos of you. The only photos I had were from costumes that were taken on an iPhone in 2019.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure you did me a favor there. Listen, Cameron's been the underdog since day one. He's still thriving and surviving.
I wanted Cameron on there and I wanted Jakeem on there, and I couldn't make either of them happen. And it may please you to know that quite a few fans have been like, yo, where's Cameron? It's not just you. I got that a lot, but I was cobbling the thing together based on photos that were available to me in the production Dropbox.
Well, that makes all the sense in the world. And all jokes aside, you've been an incredible supporter of the show and the cast and starting this podcast. I mean, it's something we've always we've all talked about and looked forward to and discussed in like the cast group chat. So it's like you've really helped make it more of a community than it already was. So we appreciate you.
I'm happy to be of some service, and I hope I get to continue doing it for years. But let's get back to putting you on the spot.
Yes.
Tease us with something.
Okay. Beyond episode.
Yeah, see, you have to tantalize us without spoiling anything. I want to see if you can do that on the fly.
I don't know. We will see. Well, let's just say that eventually it will be revealed what Cameron's true intentions are and what his future is going to look like as far as good or evil. And you'll have to wait a little bit, but it'll come out as far as what everybody's hoping to see. That's about all I can say. I don't know if I'm good at it.
Actually, that was pretty solid, dude.
I really don't know. But hey, man, it's because I feel like I can easily give so much away. And then at the same time, it's like I won't say enough. So,
yeah, I mean, it's at the Dragon Con Q&As. It was so fun watching them squirm to answer questions without giving anything away.
That's so tough.
And to her credit, Angelica became like the leader. She stepped up probably, I'm sure Breck would have been doing it if she had been able to make it. But yeah. Angelica stepped up and she was like, I
love that. Yeah. No, listen, it is such a big season for so many reasons, and for Cameron especially. And so it's just like there's so much yet to happen. So much is coming that the fans have no freaking idea what to expect. And it's just like it gets crazy.
Can I tell you? I saw one of these fan theories. I won't even say on which platform, but this dude got legit close to the truth. Wow. But also shockingly far from the full truth. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, I was like, oh, kudos on you, dude.
Do you have a favorite episode in the future? Like, just like say the number.
I would have to say,
and it may have already aired.
I would have to say there's some really great stuff in episode 8 that I'm pretty excited over.
That is one of the ones that I haven't seen all the way through, but I know, I mean, I remember. It's very solid. Very solid. It's a good choice.
Yeah. And no further info on that.
None.
Last question for you.
Yes.
Other than A Brother's Story, do you have any other projects coming up that people should look out for?
Nothing that I can verbally discuss at the moment, but things are being worked on that aren't official, but things are happening. So no, unfortunately, there's nothing. I can't really say anything exciting.
So which Marvel movie are you going to be in? That's what that sounds like. Whenever someone's like, I can't really talk about what I'm working on, I always assume it's Marvel. And around here, it usually is.
That's great. I am not currently filming anything in the exact at this moment, but there's some things in the mix, and we'll see what happens. Of course, I'll be sure to loop you in when that does. But I got like all my friends I'm like so proud of. Like some of my closest friends are just killing it out there, and I'm just like so happy to have a community of actors, like from co-stars on Stargirl to like, you know, one of my best friends is playing He-Man. Like it's like it's just bizarre that like this community of people that I kind of rose in the ranks with like going to these classes and not working for years and years and years. And then just everyone kind of like slowly but surely getting these things that are establishing their careers. And
then suddenly He-Man.
It's heartwarming. Yeah, I know. And now Kyle's playing He-Man, which I'm like so proud of him.
And now you can't take your shirt off near him.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, that'll be a good one whenever that comes out. So go see He-Man and however many years that's going to be.
Nice. Hunt, thanks for sitting down with me. It was a lot of fun. We could have done it earlier if we had seats closer to each other on the plane, but whatever.
I know. Hey, thank you for having me per usual. It's always been fun, and hopefully to many more of these.
And to Cameron, bringing it and showing up more.
Yes, there's a lot coming your guys' way. So I hope you've enjoyed the season this far, and get ready for what's coming at you.
And Camney is real.
Camney is live and real, folks. It has finally happened.
Hell yeah. And that's it. We're going to go back to me and Sarah for a post-interview chat, and we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.
Stargirl After Show.
So, Sarah, let's talk in very detailed terms about what we just heard Hunter say.
I think we should let the interview speak for itself.
That's fair.
All right. So, Shawn, if people are looking to find more of you, where can they find you on the internet?
You know what? Just go to fandomlim.com and look at any of those podcasts. I'm only on a few of them, but we'll make it a game. You figure out which ones I'm involved with.
I guess do the same with me. But I specifically do want to plug the Swift Review. We've been talking with cast members and people involved with the show, and you should definitely go check that out and stream Tom Swift on HBO Max.
Can I just say to everybody, I'm very impressed with the gets you've been getting on that podcast, because the only reason this podcast has any of these people on it is because I know them and or I can contact them through having worked on the show.
Yeah.
But you are getting some really impressive interviews without having worked on the show and without any other connections that I know of. And you're killing it. You're doing a great job over there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, everybody is so passionate about the show. They want to talk about it. And so it's been really awesome. I think it helped that we got Tian Richards on before the show was picked up. He was on our Nancy Drew. And so he kind of spread the word to the others that they should be on it.
But that also was an amazing get.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, good going. And still, CW won't respond to any of our emails about getting you guys some press access. I don't know what's up with them. CW, You're dropping the ball. # renew Stargirl.
Yes.
That's all. # renew Stargirl. We'll be back next week with another Leah Thompson episode. That might be important. That it's a Leah Thompson episode directed by Leah Thompson next week.
All right.
I mean, I just want to put that this episode is directed by Leah Thompson. Next week is directed by Leah Thompson. I might say Leah Thompson 4 more times if I don't stop myself. So I will stop myself, and I'll say be sure to come back next week. Like we said earlier, like, subscribe, leave a review. We'll see you next week. And until then, have a super great day.
Stargirl After Show is a production of Fandom Limb Media.